You are Locked On Knicks Postcast, part of Locked On Sports New York on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, so much fun. We can laugh about it. Ha, ha, ha. Knicks bounce back in style. They crush the Nuggets in Denver. Final score 145-118. A career night for OG Anunoby as New York wins in wire-to-wire fashion, going away. The win streak was snapped in Utah, unfortunately, Saturday night. Monday, tonight, we start a new streak. Hello, everyone. I'm Jay Berman. If you're a New Yorker, you might recognize my work. If not, welcome aboard. I've spent more than 2 decades in the biz, everything from TV to web to radio. So guess what? You can follow me on X at jberman, Jyberman. Welcome to the Locked On Knicks Postcast, both on the Locked On Sports New York YouTube channel and the Locked On Knicks podcast feed. The Postcast gives you a place to hang out after every single Knicks game. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. We'll chat everything OG, who, as we said, went off tonight, a career night, one for the ages. Karl-Anthony Towns was dominant again. So was Jalen Brunson. Everybody was in the 145-118 win. An all-around beatdown of the Nuggets. The Knicks defense was as impressive as the shooting. All that coming up on the Postcast. Today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your very first purchase. Your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Knicks Daily Newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Knicks newsletter. All right, as we said, the best performance of the season so far for the Knicks. Wire to wire, pillar to post, top to bottom, left to right. Any way you wanted to describe how the Knicks played tonight, nothing but superlatives. Again, a 145-118 win over the Nuggets. And the reason why that's noteworthy, other than the fact it's a win in the NBA, and any win in the NBA is good, get this, the Knicks over the last 23 years, get it, 23 years, they play in Denver once a year, 3-20 were the Knicks in Denver over the last 23 years. We'll make it 4-20 over the last 24 years. Really an amazing stat. The Knicks really haven't won there at all in about 3 decades. Well, that changed tonight with a wonderful, wonderful performance. Some record-breaking performances. We told you about the career high from OG. He pumped in 40 on 16 of 23 shooting. That included 5 3-pointers. He also grabbed 5 rebounds, dished out 4 assists. He was a plus 21, and I know we talk about it a lot, and we should, and we will. The plus minus, every single Knick who got a minute of playing time today was a plus in the plus minus category. So a career high for OG, 40. He has never pumped in 40 in an NBA game until tonight. Also a career high in assists for Jalen Brunson with 17. Now Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns, for that matter, both overshadowed by OG, but both plenty to brag about. Brunson, 8 of 14 from the floor, 4 of 5 from 3, had 23 points, and as we said, a career-high 17 assists. The Knicks set a franchise record, actually tied a franchise record, with 45 assists tonight. Guess how many turnovers they had? Just 9. So 45-9 assist to turnover ratio. And again, the Knicks comfortably tonight over the Denver Nuggets. Knicks win their 10th game of the season. They're now 10-7, 5-5 away from Madison Square Garden. So they've evened up their record on the road again at 5-5. And they are 5-2 at Madison Square Garden, and we'll check the schedule coming up a little bit later on. What's interesting also is that the Knicks entered tonight with a 9-7 record. As we said, they're now 10-7. They were 9-7 after 16 games. Strangely enough, it's the same record they had last year through 16 games, 9-7. And we know how fortunate the Knicks were for the time that was put in to make them who they eventually became late in the season and obviously into the playoffs. So again, a 10-7 team now. Certainly not the Celtics or the Cavs record-wise, but they're right where they need to be. And they will continue to push on. And if we have games like this tonight against a very good opponent, not only did the Knicks put up 145, but they played strong defense as well, with the exception of Russell Westbrook, who no one really expected much from tonight. He played 26 minutes and had 27 points. However, they held down Nikola Jokic, did the Knicks. 22 points, 7 rebounds. Now, he's averaging a triple-double. In fact, here's some interesting stats. He's tied for 5th in the NBA in scoring, are the Nuggets, at nearly 118 points per game. They're right on the average tonight, but obviously a lot of that garbage time. Jokic leads the NBA in rebounds per game at 14, second in assists with 11, and obviously in double digits in scoring as well. So he is averaging a triple-double. That did not happen tonight. As we said, the Knicks held him down. 22 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists. So no triple-double average across the board there for Jokic, the 3-time MVP who won in 20, 21, and 24. Well, certainly a night to forget for him. 9 of 20 from the floor, 2 of 7 from 3. The Knicks held the Nuggets to just 44% shooting from the floor. So good defense again. Remember, this is a very high scoring team. As we said, Nuggets tied for 5th in the league in scoring average at nearly 118 points per game. Knicks average isn't that high, although the Knicks average will go up tonight, again, after a 145-118 victory. We mentioned Karl Anthony Towns. Towns had 30 points on 12 of 15 shooting, grabbed 15 rebounds, also had 4 assists, 3 steals. Really an amazing performance, as once again, all 5 starters were in double digits. The only sour spot, if you want to call it that at the very least, is Mikal Bridges, who continues to struggle. Took 16 shots tonight, missed 10 of them. He was 6 of 16, was a plus 18, so certainly played good defense. All the Knicks players who played tonight, I said, was a plus minus in the plus category. So again, 14 for Bridges, but just 6 of 16 from the floor. Josh Hart was in foul trouble, did manage to pump in 12 on 5 of 5 shooting. Josh Hart, efficient. Hart again played just 28 minutes. Brunson played 38, as did OG. And considering the Knicks were up by double figures since 2 minutes remaining in the first quarter throughout the game, in fact, at one point they led by 30, Tom Thibodeau was calling timeouts after the Nuggets trimmed the lead down to 20. And Tibbs was upset. Amazing stuff from the Knicks tonight. We said they tied a franchise record with 45 assists tonight. What's also interesting is that they had 23 assists in the first half, most in any half ever. And again, they had 45 assists, so the second most they've ever had in a half, 22. That came in the second half tonight. So interesting stuff. And in that first half, when they had 23 assists, just 3 turnovers. In the second half, it was 22 assists to 6 turnovers. So really efficient stuff from the Knicks tonight. And as we said, everybody who played, and there were 11 Knicks who played tonight, the bench was emptied late. Everybody was a plus in the plus minus category. And for that matter, everybody on the Nuggets was a minus in the plus minus category. Even Russell Westbrook, who went off in the fourth quarter, got things quote unquote interesting, at least interesting enough for Tibbs to call a couple of timeouts. Westbrook had 27 to lead all Denver scores, but was a minus 16. Even when he was pumping in all those points, the Nuggets still could not keep up. And yes, we talk about plus minus a lot because it's a very telling stat. And again, plus 21s for OG and Cat, plus 19 for Jalen Brunson. Josh Hart, as we said, played just 28 minutes, was in foul trouble. What was a plus 13 and pumped in 12. Brunson, 23 and 17. And again, we'll go through the numbers and the schedule coming up on the other side. All right, I got to be honest. I haven't given much thought to which underwear I buy in quite a while. Maybe you're with me. Well, turns out Skims is now offering underwear for men. Yep, they used to only make women's stuff, but now they have a whole line for men, including 3 and 5-inch boxer briefs in cotton and stretch material. Plus, they have briefs too, if that's more your style. Shop Skims Men's at skims.com. Let them know we've sent you. Or after you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. And if you're looking for the perfect gifts for the whole family, Skims just launched their biggest holiday shop ever. Also available at skims.com. Again, that's skims.com. All right, we are back for segment number 2, the Locked On Knicks postcast, as the Knicks and Nuggets battled, at least for a few minutes. That's when the Knicks took over. They did so in Denver, and they did so early. Knicks outscored Denver 36-24 after 1, and they were well on their way. They put up 40 in the second, so 76 points in the first half. And at that point, it really was over. As we said, with a minute and a half to 2 minutes remaining in the first quarter, the Knicks took a double-digit lead. It would never fall back down to single digits at any point in the game. Really amazing stuff from the Knicks. The Knicks and Nuggets, 2 of the top 3 three-point shooting teams in the NBA. Knicks are 3rd in the NBA in three-point shooting, and the 2 teams' percentages are pretty close. Knicks were 39.0%. The Nuggets 2nd in the NBA at 39.6. So we'll break down those numbers now. Knicks were 19 of 36 for 53% from three-point land tonight. As for the Nuggets, not nearly as good. 11 of 33. That's 33%. And again, good Knicks defense as the Knicks complete really their most, I would say, balanced attack, both offensively and defensively. Mike Breen even said it as the final buzzer went off. The Knicks' most complete game of the year, and really no question about it. 145-118. By the way, not only were the Knicks 3-20 over the last 23 years in Denver, one of the best home teams in the NBA. They were 33-8 last year at home. The same good fortune not with the Nuggets this year at home. Aaron Gordon, obviously a key injury note there, though, without him. But again, a very, very difficult place to play. And we haven't even mentioned altitude yet, which, as Jamal Crawford described with Mike Breen, very much an issue for opposing players going into Denver, especially for East Coast teams that are only there once a year. Teams in their divisions get to go there 2 and 3 times a year. But the teams in the East only go to Denver once. They only play the teams in the Western Conference once in their home park. So again, that gets lost in the shuffle, altitude, and it's much more difficult for East Coast teams to come and play in Denver. Regardless, the Knicks win it 145-118, and they are very much back into the winner's circle. Now, as for the bench, Deuce McBride made his return tonight. Deuce played 28 minutes off the bench, 5 of 9 from the floor, 3 of 6 from 3, had 13 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal, and was a plus 10. Great to get Deuce back. Of course, he is back in the lineup after missing 5 games. First, he was sick. Then he had sore left knee issues. And he was only sick really for 1 or 2 of those games at the front end. And then the last 3 or 4, he's been out with that sore left knee. Good to have him back. As for the rest of the bench, specifically Precious and Mitchell, well, as we told you the other night, they are both traveling with the team. Precious close to practicing. Robinson, his return is not imminent, as Coach Tibbs said several days ago over the weekend. But again, both Precious Achiuwa and Mitchell Robinson are traveling with the team. They're on the trip. And at that point, you figure, as Coach said, imminent. That's the key word. Now, not so much for Robinson, whose return is not imminent, at least not anytime soon, but the same cannot be said for Precious, who is close and will likely practice in the coming days, if not weeks. All right, so Deuce is back. Precious and Robinson coming back, but that means guys like Ariel Hukporti, who I haven't seen in a while, Pacome Dadier, who we saw tonight, threw up one of the ugliest shots you'll see. Sorry, bud. Needed to be said. It was more of a smile-inducing shot, if you will. But guys like Tyler Kolek and Jericho Sims and Matt Ryan, they're going to get less run when Precious and Robinson come back. And they know that. And they're there to fill in the shoes on the bench of both Precious Achiuwa and Mitchell Robinson. When those guys get back, that makes it all the more likely that the minutes will come down for the starters. As we said, Jalen Brunson played 38 tonight. OG played 38 tonight, despite the fact that the Knicks were up by 20 for the better part of 2.5 quarters. I mean, they were up 76-53 at the break. So they were up 23 points, and these guys are still playing basically 40 minutes. So Tibbs, despite playing Deuce 28 minutes, and Cam Payne, who's been excellent, at 18 minutes, and Jericho Sims at 14 minutes, again, those numbers are going to come back to the middle. The minutes from the starters going to decrease. The minutes from the bench are going to increase as soon as Precious and Mitchell Robinson come back. And that will really help those starters, especially the big guys. Karl Anthony Towns played 34 minutes. And again, OG and Brunson each played 38. Mikal Bridges, really the only worrisome spot, really. And we discussed that in the first segment of the show. But again, the really the only worrisome spot in the Knicks lineup right now is Mikal Bridges, who just continues to struggle. Again, missed 10 shots from the floor tonight. 6 of 16, was just 2 of 8 from three-point land. Had 6 assists, which helped, and was a plus 18, had 14 points. But again, Mikal Bridges continues to struggle. Knicks got to get that right at some point in time. All right, we'll go over the schedule. 2 games left on the trip, Wednesday and then Friday, and then back home for December and Madison Square Garden, the friendly confines of. All right, as we said, we'll talk schedule and we'll wrap up the numbers game right after this. All right. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed, when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. All right, let's talk game time for a moment. One of my favorite things to do, we've discussed this many times, go see live events, be it a game, a concert. My favorite thing to do, live events. Game Time has a new feature now called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is game time. You are watching the Locked On Knicks postcast as the Knicks and Nuggets have wrapped up their Monday night game from Denver, and the Knicks do so in style. Again, 145-118. As we said, you're watching the Locked On Knicks postcast as the Knicks and Nuggets did battle in Denver. My name is Jay Berman. Follow me on X at JAYBERMAN. And again, this is the Locked On Knicks postcast. 145-118 as we kick up the final segment of the show. We talked about the calendar. And again, a 5-game road trip the Knicks are in the midst of. A season-long 5-game road trip. The win in Phoenix, a dominant performance in which they pumped up 138 points. Jalen Brunson had 36 there. Then they go to Utah on Saturday and lay an egg. Larry Markkinen pumps in 34. And the Knicks lose to the Jazz, snapping their 4-game win streak. But in Denver, another Phoenix-like performance. As we said, 40 for OG, a career high. And the Knicks are now 2-1 on the 5-game trip. Next up, Wednesday night, big Wednesday before Thanksgiving Eve. It's a 7:30 tip time from Dallas against the Mavericks. Then, before we get back to New York, we got to make a pit stop in Charlotte, of all places. That's Black Friday, and that is a noon tip. A noon tip, 12 p.m. Eastern time on Friday in Charlotte against the Hornets to wrap up the 5-game trip. Again, the Knicks are 2-1 through 3. A chance to go 4-1 on the trip with wins in Dallas and Charlotte. Obviously won't be easy. Before we get out of here, we do have to tell you that there are home games on the schedule. That's right. Not in November, but certainly in December, as the Knicks return home next Sunday for New Orleans. Again, the Pelicans come to town. That is a 6 o'clock tip time next Sunday, December 1st, after the Knicks complete their 5-game road trip. All right, your favorite podcast now is a newsletter introducing the Locked On Knicks daily newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at lockedondaily.com. That's lockedondaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Knicks newsletter. Also want to mention our partners in crime over at Locked On Knicks. Of course, the All-Stars, Gavin Shaw and Alex Wolf. They handle all the stuff again at Locked On Knicks. Follow, subscribe, and enjoy. As we said, a dominant performance tonight for the Knicks. 145, 118, a career high 40 for OG Anunoby, a career high 17 assists for Jalen Brunson, and the Knicks are now 10-7 overall, 5-5 away, and they get a chance to close out the 5-game road trip in style with 2 more wins. Again, Wednesday in Dallas, 7:30 tip time. Friday in Charlotte before we return home. And again, take note, the Friday after Thanksgiving, a 12 p.m. tip time. You've been watching the Locked On Knicks postcast as the Knicks beat the Nuggets tonight. Again, my name is Jay Berman, Jayberman. We will see you Wednesday after the Dallas Mavericks game.